An actor from Los Angeles walks into a working class bar in the Midwest and strikes up a conversation with two factory workers. The intellectual urban elite meets middle America on a bar stool. What happens? In this case, and this is a true story from Winona, Minnesota, our actor convinces the two factory workers to come see The Winter's Tale at the Great River Shakespeare Festival. Now, I don't know if The Winter's Tale is the ideal choice for someone that has never seen a play by Shakespeare before, but that's what they see. And the next night in the bar, they talk about jealousy. What does it feel like when you're jealous of your wife? How do you get stuck in that feeling, and how do you get back out? Looked at from the outside, these three men appear to have nothing in common, and yet here they are having an intimate conversation. They're discovering each other's humanity. They are learning about themselves from an unexpected source. They are building a community. Why did that happen? It would be easy enough for me to say that these are just three unique individuals, and that would be true. But I'm going to also suggest that encountering a great work of art, like a play by William Shakespeare, encourages us to explore the world in a different way. It invites us to be truly present in the moment. That experience causes us to think differently. I'd like to give you a little taste of why that's true, and I would like to do it using one sonnet by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, a sonnet starts with a thesis statement. So I know what you're thinking. Thesis statement, that's high school English, the 5-paragraph essay. Thesis statement, 3 paragraphs to explain it, and then a conclusion. I tell you what I think, I give you 3 reasons why I think, and then I tell you what I think. That is not what a sonnet is. A 5-paragraph essay encourages you to state your belief and then dig in your heels and defend it. A sonnet is an exploration of an idea that allows not just the possibility of change, but in its very structure, assumes that something will be different at the end than at the beginning. A 5-paragraph essay is a report on having grappled with an idea in the past. A sonnet is the exploration itself. Shakespeare writes the way we speak. More importantly, he writes the way we think. One idea follows the next. So, a sonnet begins with a question. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? When we work on Shakespeare, we often paraphrase to uncover what we might have missed. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that sentence paraphrased as, "You are more beautiful than a summer's day." We are so used to hearing definite statements that sometimes we miss the question. And when we miss the question, we miss the opportunity to explore. We miss the opportunity to discover. We miss the possibility of change. That is a question with more than one answer. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Oh, definitely not. And then we wouldn't get the sonnet. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Yes. Yes, I will. But if I'm William Shakespeare, I'm going to make that comparison as honestly and as completely as I can. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. All right, Shakespeare wrote sonnets to get girls, or boys, or both. We don't actually know. So I understand lovely, but temperate? I love my wife, but when I say, honey, you are not super exciting, but you're not totally boring either. You are right there in the middle. You are that tepid cup of tea. You are temperate. It's an honest comparison. You are more temperate than a summer's day, but in our honesty, we have accidentally uncovered what we truly believe about the world, and we've offended the person that we love. That is a question with more than one answer. Shall I compare the... that is a question that every line of verse presents a problem that is answered by the next line of verse. Every line of verse is the opportunity for a discovery that creates the opportunity for the next discovery. Every line of verse is a question. Temperate Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. If you've got the buds in May and a storm comes along and blows them off, you don't get the fruit. It is a good thing to be temperate, but that creates its own question. May, why are you talking about May? Because summer's lease hath all too short a date. There isn't time for another bud to grow. Shakespeare's one of the great writers in the English language, but he made as much or more of his money from real estate. So Shakespeare understands what a lease is. You don't own something you lease. You'll get to borrow it, but you don't even get to borrow it for as long as you want. It is a contract with an end date. You will lose it someday. Now that's going to create another problem that we'll deal with in just a minute. Sometime too hot, the eye of heaven shines. So the eye of heaven is the sun. Sometime, not grammatically correct in Shakespeare's time, but we're talking about the idea of time. Sometime too hot, the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. Well, they certainly understand fog in London. And every fair, from fair, sometime declines. Fair is a tricky word. In Shakespeare's time, when applied to a woman, it means she is beautiful because her skin is of a light color. Now, that is obviously racist and sexist, but fair is also a bigger word than that. A law can be fair. The winds can be fair. Our price can be fair. We can have fair companions. Fair is that quality in anything that makes it worthy of love. We love a fair law because it's just. Fair winds carry us to our destination quickly but without destroying us. We love a fair price because it's good for both sides. Our companions are fair when they are generous and engaging. And when applied to a woman or a man, it means someone who is gracious and truthful, someone who is worthy of our love. Shakespeare loved. But just 7 lines into a poem about a summer's day, following one thought to another, he has accidentally uncovered one of our greatest existential fears. Everything we love will die. Everything we love will disappear from this world. Every fair from fair sometime declines by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed, and Shakespeare cannot stand it. But neither can the sonnet. In its very structure, it assumes that something will be different at the end than at the beginning, and we have arrived at what we call the turn. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag, thou wanderest in his shade. Okay, now wait a minute, Shakespeare. Everything dies. That is the nature of reality. There is no other possibility. But Shakespeare has explored the question fully, completely, honestly. And when he is left with no possible solution that he can accept, he has no choice but to attempt the impossible. When in eternal lines to time thou growest. The eternal lines of a poem. So I'm William Shakespeare. I haven't written my most famous plays yet. I'm a somewhat well-known playwright, but the theaters are closed because of the plague, so I'm wandering around the countryside trying to make ends meet, and I am in love, and I cannot stand that love will disappear from the world. So I say, I know, I will write a poem. And when this poem is spoken out loud, the love that I feel will live in this world for one more minute, and people will speak this poem forever. It is an impossible plan, except that it worked. We breathe in order to live. For the Elizabethans, when we breathe back out in order to speak language, that is our life force going out in the world. Because we are breathing to speak and to hear this poem today, the love that Shakespeare felt 400 years ago lives in this room for one more minute. We don't know who this poem was written to. We don't know if it was a man or a woman, but we know that Shakespeare loved. And we know that like any of us that have truly and deeply loved, he cannot stand that that love would disappear from the world, but we know that everything dies. That is the nature of reality. But Shakespeare is an artist. And an artist doesn't always care about the nature of reality. And sometimes, in the moment-to-moment exploration of the world, an unexpected solution presents itself. Maybe, just maybe, a poem can defy death itself. Maybe the impossible can become possible. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. We need this. We need to learn to be fully present with each other. We need to speak and to listen to each other in a way that allows the possibility of change. We need art. So long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Thank you.